Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Frivolous Writer, where I am taking a journey to write my very first novel, something that's been on my mind and I've been dreaming about since I was a kid, and yet never had the opportunity to actually put pen to paper. That's not true. I've had many, many opportunities, but never had the gumption, never had the will, never had the courage to put pen to paper and actually make a story to completion. So really excited to get this happening. This is our fourth episode, our fourth time together. I've already expressed a lot of my self-doubt, a lot of the things that are getting in my way. I know in my last episode, I talked about how I had started and stopped and rewritten chapter one over and over and over again. It took me 3 times. Now on my fourth. So I let everyone know I would have a finished chapter by the end of the week. And here we are. I finished my chapter. This will be the Tuesday, so a couple days after the chapter's finished. But I did promise that I would read my first draft for everybody. And if anybody is hearing this, I know I don't have a huge following, still real early on this journey. I'm open to any feedback, any notes that you have, any best practices on how you might write your first novel. I'm open to everything. So did an outline and actually put pen to paper and wrote my very first chapter of my novel. So without further ado, I want to read this out to you. So I can get that started, I will just ask, please be nice. Because it's not easy to write, and it's really not easy to share your art when it's unfinished, and you know it's unfinished, and your first draft is always garbage, at least in my experience. And so I do want to read this out. Please keep in mind, very first draft, it will be changed, it will evolve, but I want to put this out there and keep myself accountable. So here we go. The room was dark. He sat clicking his pen over and over, as if somehow that was going to make his parents stop fighting. He hated that they thought that he couldn't hear them, that by arguing in a whisper with the TV on, it made things easier for him. He wished that they knew he also thought that he wished he was better at sports, that he had more friends or better grades. The walls were too thin, and he wished he knew that. The life of a 16-year-old is never easy, but it makes it harder when you're worried about everything all the time. Conrad's life was not easy. From the outside, it looked like it might be. His parents were married, they had good jobs, they lived in a nice house in a nice neighborhood. But life for Conrad wasn't easy. He lived in constant fear. Fear that he wasn't good enough. Fear that his parents might get divorced. I mean, they weren't actually gonna divorce, but he wasn't sure. They fought all the time. Not just about him, about everything. And there was a voice in his head that he couldn't ignore. It told him terrible things. He was going to fail his next test. His homework wasn't good enough. That nobody liked him. His friends didn't like him. And that fear was crippling. He was a small guy. Too thin, glasses that wouldn't stay on his nose. His parents refused to get him contacts because they said that he would lose them. Even though he had told them, "I never lose my glasses, why would I lose my contacts?" He was very responsible. He got straight A's at school. Even though he felt like he was going to fail, that drove him to be better. That fear that crippled him also was the reason that he excelled in everything that he did. He didn't have many friends. His parents were right about that. He only had Eli and Maya. They were everything that he wished he was. They were confident, good at everything they did, and had lots of friends. When he was hanging out with them, he mostly felt like he was a tag-along or a third wheel. They never made him feel that way, but he always did. Back in Conrad's dark room, he sat at the desk turning his phone on and off. The blue brightness from the screen would reflect on his face and glasses. He wished that someone would message him. He never really ever got any notifications from friends. He was also grateful that he never got any messages from kids at school either. Sure, there was bullying, but just the normal bullying. A mean comment every now and then. But overall, he mostly just felt invisible. He put his phone down and walked to his bed. It was close to midnight. He knew that he had to go to bed soon. Another night, alone in his room. He laid down and looked at the ceiling that he found himself counting all of the dots and stipple marks from the popcorn ceiling. This is usually how he would pass his time at night. He found counting comforting. It's a way to distract his mind from the fact that he had no friends. 1, 2, 3, 4. His room felt safe. He didn't really have posters on his wall, but he did have shelves filled with books. Lots and lots of books. Eli used to razz him about it. He said it looked like a library. Even made a comment that maybe Conrad should become a librarian. But he couldn't help it. He loved to read. He loved all books, but mostly science fiction. There was something about the idea that he could live in those fantasies that felt real, but were just slightly adjacent to real life. He knew they weren't real, but he made connections to his own life. It was also the only time that someone like him could be a hero. He could fight the bad guy with your brain. Or sometimes the bad guy was your brain. His shelves didn't only have books. He also had some awards that he had won when he was younger, and one model car that his dad had helped him build before his parents started to argue about what Conrad's future was going to be. Was he lost in thought? Conrad was lost in thought, thinking about his homework, his parents, his future. The light from his phone lit up the room. He walked to his desk, uncertain about who would be messaging this late. It was Eli. Dude, I have to talk to you. Urgent. Conrad's mind started racing. What did he mean, urgent? He tapped his phone with his index finger about how to reply. Hey, he sent his first message. What's up? He waited for Eli's reply. 3 dots in the bottom left corner of his phone screen. They sat there dancing. In a flash, all at once, Connor saw flashing lights on Eli's house, broken glass, blood, and Eli. He came back staring at his phone, unsure of how he saw what he saw. He was panicking. His heart was racing. The 3 dots continued to dance. Eli, what's up? You there? Conrad was confused. Why would Eli send that to him and then not respond? He switched to a new message. Hey, Maya, have you heard from Eli? He sat in their chair at his desk, with his foot restlessly bouncing up and down, shaking the table, and the light. He didn't care. He didn't care. He knew his parents were wholly going to ask questions, telling us time. That doesn't make any sense. But what was going on? This was so unlike Eli. He checked the text to Eli again. Still nothing. Sorry, Maya. I know it's late. I was going to text Eli. I just got a text from Eli saying that it was urgent. Now he's not texting back. I'm just wondering if you heard from him. Each message he sent was a single sentence, like to put a whole story together, and he hated when people did that to him. He knew it wasn't proper English, but he didn't care, especially not now. The 3 dots appeared from Maya's message. Hey, a sense of relief floated over Conrad's body. No, I haven't heard from him. Everything okay? I don't know, Conrad answered, honestly. He wasn't sure if Maya understood his panic, but he was very, very panicked. He couldn't explain it, the fact that he saw what he saw, that it didn't exist except for in his mind. This wasn't the first time that he had had these kinds of thoughts, but this was the first time that it looked like this. Usually it was something like what his teacher was going to be wearing, or maybe a joke that he knew was going to be told, or what his mom was going to cook for dinner, but never like this. Can you send Eli a message too? I'm kind of worried. Sure. He could sense hesitance in Maya's message. Now you've got me worried. Those next moments felt like they took an eternity. He stared at the dancing dots. Nothing. He kept reading and rereading Eli's text. Urgent. What did he mean, urgent? It was midnight. What could be that urgent? Now Maya wasn't texting back. Anything? He didn't care if he was annoying her. He needed to know. He needed to know now. He thought, should I call him? What if he is in trouble? What if he's hiding from someone? And I can't call. He could feel his heartbeat in his ears. His face felt hot. I'm going to run to his house, he sent a text to Maya as he was running to the closet quietly. He could sneak out of his window. It's not that far of a jump to the front lawn. I have a bad feeling. Meet me there. He didn't wait for a response. He tucked his phone into his pocket, opened his window, and jumped. Eli's house was only a few blocks away. The next 10 minutes felt like a blur, almost like they didn't happen. Some flashes from before went through his mind on repeat. Urgent, 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 with every time his foot hit the ground. He ran as fast as he could. As he was getting closer, he saw Maya on a bike, like a bat out of hell. They met down the street and turned towards Eli's house. She stopped out of breath, winded from the speed at which she was riding. Hey, hop on. She nodded her head, signaling Conrad to jump on the back of her bike. Without thinking or hesitation, he jumped on. He grabbed her by the shoulders and threw his leg over the other side of the bike. As soon as he was secured. She pedaled as fast as her legs would allow. Only a few blocks left, but they could already see the flashing lights. Conrad's stomach dropped to his feet. He knew. He didn't know how, but he knew. Those things that he saw, he knew. So, that is the end of the first chapter. I've already started rewriting and have gotten a very similar but very different and much more coherent chapter, but along the same lines. So let me know what you think. I really am interested in hearing what anybody has to say. Again, please be nice. It's very difficult to share your art with others, especially when you know it's unfinished and it's a first draft and you're probably going to be scrapping it. But I'm very interested to hear what everyone thinks or what anyone thinks. So with that, I will see you back here, same place, same time on Friday. Looking forward to seeing you all there.